Oh God. Okay, so classic blunder. I just literally talked for about 2 minutes and nobody could hear me. I left it muted the entire time. Oh boy, and everybody's telling me that they can't hear me. Oh my God. Okay, that was really embarrassing. So instead of starting all over again, we're not going to do that. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Mapping the Magic, sponsored by On the Road Travel. What a rookie mistake that was. Chris is not here tonight, and now I kind of wish I wasn't here tonight after completely fumbling that open. So we'll forget about all the regular pleasantries. You guys know the drill. If you're here for the first time, welcome. If you're a regular, welcome back. And also, congratulations to Adam and Kristen and the birth of their baby girl. Just awesome news. So incredibly happy for them. Everybody is healthy. Everybody is doing well. So had to say congratulations to them. Funny thing was, Adam was actually going to do the show with me tonight because Chris was not able to be here. And then Kristen ended up going into labor yesterday. So Adam was unable to do the show. However, I did find us a guest co-host I'm very excited to do the show with today. This is Jimmy Sweeney. And I know nobody knows who Jimmy is. Jimmy was actually going to be on a show earlier this year when Chris was when we had that big snowstorm down in Texas and Chris was completely off the grid. But lo and behold, Jimmy was also kind of off the grid because he also lives in Texas and wasn't able to make the show either. So Jimmy, welcome. Thank you for joining me tonight to do the show. So while I get through some comments and kind of rebound from the muting incident, tell the folks a little about yourself and then we'll get going today.
Yeah, I'm super excited to be on. I'm Jimmy. I'm in Fort Worth, Texas, and I grew up in so Disney has been part of my lifeblood since I was a kid. I've experienced it from just going and camping at Fort Wilderness, not doing parks on the trips, to now being a DVC member, still having an annual pass and doing Ride Every challenges and trying to get everything in one day. So totally hit it across the spectrum, going solo, now taking my 15-month-old. We just got back about a week ago. So I'm super excited to be on and ready to talk Disney.
All right. So we got already right off the bat, a lot of congratulations to Kristen and Adam. Welcome, baby Harper. Welcome, Jimmy. So let's get going. So today is going to be a completely different type of show. Usually we go through our news and we go through our Gideon's Cookie of the Month when that happens. Still waiting on that sponsorship to come in from Gideon's. They're going to hit us up eventually, though. Maybe send us a cookie. Doing our trivia or our history. Tonight it's just going to be a little different, loose of a show. If anybody has any questions that they want to ask us about, go right ahead, whether it's Disney Genie that debuts tomorrow, any other random Disney questions that you might have, we will absolutely answer them throughout the show. Maybe it helps spurn some conversation, and we might be able to go off in some different tangents tonight. But we're just going to keep it loose and have a lot of fun. So there was one question that I wanted to start the show off with, and I want everybody's opinion. I want everybody to be commenting on this. I think this is a really good question and a really fun topic because it really gets you thinking, because it's not just about maybe something that you love, but it's something that you have to help someone else discover that same kind of Disney love that you have. So I saw this question posted on Twitter not too long ago. And my wife wants to chime in and say, "So glad we can hear you now, babe." Thank you, dear. She had to come in, she had to run in the room and tell me that she couldn't hear me. So that's what saved the day. So and even though Jimmy was trying to hit me up in the private chat saying we can't hear you, she was the one that ran in and helped save the show there and stop that madness. So I saw this question on Twitter. I thought it was a really good one. So obviously, Jimmy and myself, we've been to Disney more times than we can count. And if you're watching the show, chances are you've been to Disney more times than you can count. And you love Disney and you have your certain rides and characters and shows that are your go-tos, that are when you want your Disney experience, that's what you do. And that's what brings the whole trip full circle for you. So if it wasn't you, if you had to have a person with you, whether it was a friend or a relative, whatever the case may be, you had somebody with you that had never been to Disney before, and you were taking them to the Magic Kingdom, and you could only put them on one ride. That's it. you had one chance, one opportunity to put them on one ride, to give them that full Disney experience and to encapsulate what that Disney love is all about, and you only had one ride, one shot to do it, what ride would you choose and why? So that is the question that I'm posing right now. And I'm going to let Jimmy give me his thoughts first. And we'll try. I'm sure there's going to be some comments. I have an idea of where some of these rides might get chosen and where we might fall in line as a group. But I'm interested in everybody's thoughts. But Jimmy, right off the bat, what's maybe one or two? Oh, no, actually, no. You have one. You got one, Jimmy. You got one. So what are you going with?
It's tough. I'll say, okay, for me personally, this is the Jungle Cruise. I love the corny jokes. Like, as soon I'll wait an hour to go on the Jungle Cruise. That takes my trip full circle. But I think I have to go with the People Mover. I really love just like you get to, it's a unique load, you know, you get to go up this, not escalator, but inclined ramp thing. You get out of your element a little bit. You're up in the sky and you're just riding around seeing the behind the scenes of all of these rides in Tomorrowland. Like 10 minutes of just hanging out, getting to people watch and really take in like all of the kinetic energy that's around Tomorrowland. I feel like for me, that is something I would take somebody on and say, like, this is what Disney and Magic Kingdom is all about. It's not just about, you know, coming in, going on Thunder Mountain or whatever. Like, you come in, you get to really go behind the scenes of everything that is in this area. You get to see what people are thinking and doing in every like nook and cranny of Tomorrowland. So I think I'm going to go with the People Mover.
I think that is maybe off the bat, you would think an underrated answer, not an answer that a lot of people would choose. But when you really think about that ride and what it is, it's like a backstage tour in a way too. It's a very unique experience. You get a little bit of a rest. You get to people watch. You get to ride watch. Maybe you even get lucky and see something that you haven't seen before, like Space Mountain with the lights on.
Yeah,
a lot
exactly.
Of people, something that people get to see a lot. I love the Epcot 3D model that is there.
Yes.
I think that is one of the coolest. I'm a big model guy, and whenever, like in One Man's Dream at Hollywood Studios, all the different casts, all the different things that they had, I love those models that they put together. And the Epcot one is amazing. So man, People Mover, and you know what? I think there are a lot of People Mover fans out there, and I think, and they're chiming in too. I think that is a really solid choice.
Well, and to your point about the Epcot model also, like if you're bringing somebody to Disney for the first time, what's the first park you're going to? Probably Magic Kingdom. And so now you get to like precursor the rest of the trip with like, hey, this is what Epcot was originally based off of. Now we get to go experience that also. So it's kind of a little bit of foreshadowing.
Look at that. That is that is what you call a segue. That is really okay. So we've gotten some, and I thought we'd get like Haunted Mansion, It's a Small World, Pirates of the Caribbean. You know, those are all very classic nostalgia Disney rides. A lot of them were Walt's creations, so there's that aspect of it. A lot of solid choices I've seen. We've got some People Movers. I've seen a lot of People Movers actually. Wow, yeah, Jimmy, you're winning a lot of people over with these People Movers already. So remember,
okay.
I've seen.
Can I give you
go
my
for it,
number two under the radar choice?
Sure, absolutely.
And this was inspired by our recent trip, but I would say The Little Mermaid. Like, you get this really elaborate queue with, you know, animatronic Sebastian talking to you, and then you get to go into this massive set piece. Like your buggy turns around, you get the experience of going underwater, and then you come into this massive showroom with all these animatronics. It's just like a really impressive, immersive environment. Again, taking you behind the scenes of the movies. So maybe not my favorite ride by any means,
right?
But something to like really immerse you in what being at the Magic Kingdom's all about.
That's another good underrated one. Not necessarily the ride, but one particular scene in
Exactly.
a ride could also encapsulate it also. Jimmy coming hot and heavy, man. I love it. All right. So I've only seen somebody chime in and use this ride once. It's what I'm going with. And for me, the only correct answer is Splash Mountain. To me, Splash Mountain is every single thing that a Disney ride should be. And when you think about what makes a Disney ride great, theming, music, characters, length of a ride, which especially if you're waiting a long time, length of a ride is very important. Are you getting your bang for your buck? Waiting an hour, is it going to be worth it? Splash Mountain certainly delivers in that it's almost a 10-minute ride. It's got a great ending with that big zippity doodah ending with the riverboat. I mean, it's a beautiful scene. And it's got thrills also. It really has everything that you'd want. It even has a picture. You even get your picture on it too. It's got the on-ride photo as well. It just has a nice little added bonus. So for me, Splash Mountain is the one ride I would put somebody who'd never been to the Magic Kingdom on before.
You also get that picturesque view of the castle as you're dropping down.
Absolutely. And then even when they're sitting, for me, like that one, my favorite part is actually not all the drops and everything. I mean, the happy place and everything, the laughing place is great. But there's that one part where you're just kind of cruising along on the mountain after that first incline, and you're hearing the little birds chirping, how do you do? And you kind of get a nice view of Frontierland. And I feel like it's such a relaxing moment. Just that minute that you have before all the craziness starts. Like I'm like really at peace and I'm just enjoying everything that's going on around me. So for me, it's Splash Mountain. If I had a second choice to make, it's really hard. But I think for me, it would be the Haunted Mansion. It's a very unique experience. Like you said, you talk about the Little Mermaid having that one showroom. For me, and I don't care how many times I've been on it, that ballroom effect still just wows me every time that I see it. And how they have the ghosts dancing and just have them it's such a wow moment when you get to see it. And no matter how many, even though you know how it's done, how the work is done, it still never ceases to amaze me that this technology, these tricks of the trade, we're 50 years old, and it's still like, wow, man, like what an unbelievable scene this is. So that to me would be a second choice if I had to go there. But we have, but it would be Splash for me.
Another thing that's fun about Splash is if you're riding it with people that have never ridden it before, like every single drop is like, oh, is this the one? Is this the one? There's a ton, like it's iconic, and everybody has so much anticipation over it that like it's fun observing other people experience that for the first time and just like waiting for the big one to come.
And you know what? Another good comparison. If we were starting to do other parks, Tower of Terror is another one like that. Riding with people for the first time. I love riding it with first timers because it's a different experience for me, and I've been on it 150 times. But you could have a great ride just because of the people that you're riding it with, and they could even jack the experience up even a little bit more for you.
Flight of Passage is the same way. Like you get on that with first-time riders, and it's just so much awe of everything that's around you, and it's just fun to look around and see people's faces.
I do love people watching too when I'm going on a lot of rides for the first time. But yeah, it's always seeing somebody else's excitement, or maybe they saw something that you didn't even see. I've never even noticed before, and seeing it from a fresh set of eyes can be just as awesome. I love my wife's hitting me hard today. Is like no, it is not. Oh my god! How could you say that? It is not like every other log flume ride. Where's Kendall? Kendall would be a good friend of ours. Like she can't stand Splash Mountain. She says, "I hate getting wet." That's the thing too. Like just because you don't like getting wet doesn't mean that it's not a great ride. Oh,
Okay,
that's so
I swear that they had the water features like turned up high last week. Like I walked off wetter than I have ever gotten, and I ducked on the big drop. I was behind a big person, and I still walked off so wet. They've got it all the way turned up right now.
Oh my God, that's really because they used to have the cannons would shoot off like every
Yeah,
2 or 3 logs, and yeah, you're right. I had noticed that it had been quieted down a bit, but oh my God, that'd be fantastic. And hopefully, it's not a sign that they're just trying to go out in a blaze of glory here, because obviously we know this refurb is coming at some point. Hopefully, they're not just winding this thing down and just giving everybody these great experiences because it's going away, close. So I hope not. So you know what, we're starting to get other answers from other parks. So let's, Magic Kingdom, we had a nice little grouping of rides that we all kind of thought. So let's go to another park because we have some Tower of Terror. What about Hollywood Studios, which has by far the biggest number of thrill rides of all the 4 parks? Is it Tower of Terror? Does that encapsulate everything because it's not Star Wars? Or is it Star Wars?
It's so hard for me to not choose Rise of the Resistance, Rise is just, as an experience, so beyond what we have gotten before. But I will say I also really love Toy Story Mania. I feel like that is just such a fun, unique spin on a carnival ride that is just, I could ride that so many times and it never get old. So Toy Story Mania, I would say, is an under the radar there. But Tower of Terror, it is hard to beat the experience that is.
As far as storytelling goes, like we always talk about, excellent storytelling. The whole Twilight Zone spin on it is incredible. The ride itself is full of some of the biggest thrill. I know people who will go on roller coasters but not go on Tower of Terror because they can't take the up and down. They'll go on, it can flip and turn, a dozen different ways, but they can't take an up and down drop ride. The outside of it is just a beautiful building. To me, that's another classic. Just gives you everything that you want out of a Disney ride. But I will say that Rise of the Resistance is incredible, and you and I were there opening day, and it was the first time that I ever got to experience an attraction opening for the first time, and I'll never forget when you and I were riding it. And the scene opens up.
Oh my gosh!
And you got the guns flying up, and you and I look at each other. I remember we locked eyes and was like, "Can you believe what we're riding? This is unbelievable. This is unbelievable." And it just had that wow factor to it. Obviously, there's some issues with it that frustrate a lot of people. But once you get to experience, like you said, it is not just a ride. It is a full-blown immersive experience. So, if you want to give that to somebody, I see, but is that really what Disney's all about, though? Disney's not really about a ride like Rise of Resistance is so incredibly unique, but is that what the typical Disney ride is?
I think that might be the future of what Disney rides are. Like if we talk Flight of Passage, right? If we talk, even Navi River, totally immerses you in the experience of being in Pandora. Ever since Harry Potter World opened at Universal, the name of the game has been immersion. And so I feel like Rise of the Resistance is the future of what Disney experiences are about. Even though the ride itself is fine, it's fun, but just the total, 30-minute experience where you are in Star Wars is just unlike anything else that's out there.
It is really, yeah. And if it's the new Guardians ride, a coaster at Epcot's going to be another immersive. It's like the way the story is told, and so you're right. We may be going in that direction, and if we are, then without a doubt, Rise is the top of the pyramid standard that you're going to compare all those future rides to. Tron may be something similar to that. It might not just be a roller, like we all know the ride. But there might be some other little things and nuances that they throw in there that maybe we didn't anticipate that help give you that completely immersive experience. So it's tough. I love Toy Story Mania too, but you mentioned going on Toy Story over and over and over again. I don't know, man. The shoulder starts to go after a while. And then I'm not, like I try using the other hand and you trying to do it left. Like it's not the same, your score is going to suffer. So, I mean, maybe, I think I've gone on that maybe 4 times is probably the most in one day I've gone it. And I was dead tired by the end of it. It is a killer, but it's a great ride. It's fun. It's competitive, which is a little bit different. You can have a little bit of competition going, which is a lot, unlike every other ride with the exception of Buzz Lightyear, which once you have Toy Story, Buzz kind of feels like yesterday's and like the ride. It's not really the same. So Toy Story is definitely that step up in storytelling, a ride system that kind of was in place already. So yeah, man, those are some solid choices at Hollywood Studios. Katie wants to know, is it true that your hats or mouse ears fly off entirely? I've ridden it with a hat on before. It's never flown off. So I don't know.
I'm not bold enough to try.
I did see a thing. Actually, I did see something on Facebook. There was a person who apologized to a group of people because I don't know if it was in Disneyland or Disney World, but he had a thing of Pringles in his book bag, and it opened on the first drop. And he posted a couple pictures, and you could see Pringles like in midair and in people's faces and on. And it was a fun story. But he apologized to, if anybody was members of those particular groups. He wanted to apologize that his Pringles had exploded and basically was. But for me, like something random like that and I'm watching Pringles flying up in the air, like that would be. Oh man, that'd be like one of the best rides I've ever had. Yeah, something random happening that doesn't normally happen. That would be awesome. So yeah, we had that was so okay. So everybody's kind of in the same boat. A lot of Tower of Terror.
Yeah,
lots and lots of Tower of Terror. So let's move it to. Let's move it to Epcot.
I
Where
mean,
are you going with Epcot?
It's hard to go with Spaceship Earth. Like it takes you through the ball. Like that is almost as iconic as the castle, maybe even more iconic than Cinderella Castle. But I mean, the other thing that I could say is if we're talking about like looking towards the future of Disney rides and Disney parks, like Remy's Adventure does a really great job at combining set pieces with screens. It's a ton of fun. It's accessible to the whole family. I mean, I really enjoyed it, but it's hard not to say Spaceship Earth. I mean, you get 20 minutes inside this massive geosphere, going through history, visiting different countries. I feel like it's just the whole ethos of Epcot.
You know what? It's hard. I agree with you. I'm going to go somewhere different just because I'm going to be different.
Yeah.
We've gotten some Sorens. Barbara even said the World Showcase, which it's not a ride, but I will agree that if you want to show somebody Epcot, the World Showcase is what you want to do. Like you have your rides and then you have the World Showcase. So I do agree with Barbara that if I was taking somebody to Epcot for the first time and we had a limited amount of time and I couldn't get them, maybe I'm taking them around the World Showcase and we're boozing and we're eating and we're sampling everything that area has to offer. But we're just going to stick it to just a ride and what we would do. And it's so funny. Our friend Stacey said, if you say that stupid ball, I'll be mad. So I wanted to point that out. But we had Soarin', Spaceship. I like Soarin'.
I like Soarin' a lot too.
Soarin' is a good one. But what really encompasses or I don't know if encompasses is the word, encapsulate. I'm trying to think of, I want to be different, but I want to make sure that I give a good reason for it, because Spaceship Earth is probably the answer. It would be nice if it would, we were going to have that big 2-year update, which I think it really needs, because of just the way that we end on the beginning of the computer era. Like there's a lot that's happened since then. But as far as storytelling goes and delivering what the basis of Epcot is supposed to be, Spaceship Earth really does a great job of knocking it out of the park. Man, where would I go if I could only take somebody on one ride? I mean, I wouldn't even say Test Track, as much as I love that ride. It's a good thrill ride. You know what? I'm going to be completely different. I'm going to say the Grand Fiesta Tour. If I had to do Epcot with somebody, number one, it's a great show building. Number two, it's a fun atmosphere because the ride is inside. There's the restaurant there. There's a bar in there. It's a very unique ride in itself, even before the addition of the Three Caballeros, which I love. It's got some history to it, even though we're only talking about and focusing in on one country. And who doesn't love Donald? You get your main Disney character. Three Caballeros is, everybody knows who those is. It's a fun song. It's a good ride. It has a little bit of it's a small world feel to it also. Yeah. With the way some of the animatronics work. So I think that would be a good one. Maybe a good people mover under the radar Epcot ride. I think the Grand Fiesta Tour would be the way to go.
It captures a lot of like what you're trying to get across with World Showcase. Like if we're sticking just to rides, like going on the Three Caballeros, it's like this isn't a huge IP type of ride, but you get to go into one of the best pavilions, if not the best. You get like a nice 10-minute boat ride. You go, it even like emulates the Pirates at Disneyland, where you're riding past a restaurant. Right. So I'm with you there. I think that's a great under the radar. My only issue with it is that with the plexiglass up, that queue is so crammed and just like claustrophobic that it's like tough for me to stomach right now.
You're right.
Other than that, I'm on board with you.
No, you're right. The way that, and obviously due to the pandemic and everything, eventually I think those will go away.
Yeah.
But very, very tight squeeze, and I just feel like it does more harm than good. Everybody is just really packed. You feel like you're really packed in there like a sardine. But usually that ride also moves pretty well too. There's usually not a long line. Even if it's backed up to La Cava, it still moves pretty quickly. So, which is also great. The capacity is up there. It's a good, constant, free-flowing ride. I love waving to people. I'm a big people person. So I just love like waving. See how many people I can get to wave to me at the restaurant. Enjoying their meals as they're floating on by. So there are a lot of little different things on that ride that you don't get, on other attractions. So a good under the radar one.
I see a Figment in here, and we wouldn't.
Who said Figment?
Stacy said Figment. We would be remiss to not mention Figment and the legacy that it has at Epcot. Maybe the current version of it doesn't like capture Epcot as much as you think. Like I took a friend on there. Actually, I took a friend on there first time they had been to Disney World, and we get to the like smiley moon face at the end, and he was just like, this is what this resort is about. He's a like Southern California person. Like his dad used to work for Disney. He was like, what is going on here? So maybe the current version doesn't hit it quite right.
I agree with you. The original, I think, did a fantastic job of encapsulating Epcot and everything that we wanted Epcot to be. The new version, as much as I don't mind it, I'm not like this big hater that a lot of people are, that think it's just like an abomination of a ride. It's a cute ride. It is for what it is. It's okay, but I get it. When you're comparing it to what it used to be, it can be extremely frustrating. The same way that it's incredibly frustrating for me going on Winnie the Pooh, knowing that, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride used to be there and how much of an amazing ride that was. It's disappointing. Is Figment the abomination that a lot of people make it out to be? I don't think it's that bad. I'm with you on that one. But Spaceship Earth seemed to be the overwhelming winner on that one. So last but not least, but we didn't do it in the order that the parks were released, but Animal Kingdom did come around last. So if we move it over to Animal Kingdom, which does not have nearly as many attractions, I mean, is it really the safari? Because it's a goat, it is what Animal Kingdom is supposed to be. Or is it Flight of Passage, which is without a doubt one of the best attractions anywhere. It's really amazing. The entire land of Pandora is amazing. So I really don't think it could be any one other than those two, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a big Navi River fan, especially the animatronic at the end. Just like if we're talking about how Disney is at like the forefront of technology,
right?
Like that animatronic is insane. And like once you get halfway through the ride, like I'm singing that song at the top of my lungs. Like I am there for that. But I would probably go Safari. I mean, just like every single ride is going to be different. Like you get it's just such a unique experience. Like you can't go to a local zoo and get that like up close and personal experience with so many animals. Like that truly helps set it apart from like what Animal Kingdom is versus like when people hate on it and just try to call it a zoo. I mean, I love Everest. Everest is a great coaster, in my opinion. The best coaster at Disney. And like the load capacity of it, like you're never having to wait long for it. Single rider as an option, like just hits on so many levels. But it's tough for me to bet against the Safari.
Everest, I think, is a good. I don't know if there's an underrated or under the radar ride at Animal Kingdom, because I wouldn't qualify Everest as under the radar by any means.
Yeah,
the theming is excellent. The queue is really I mean, they travel to Nepal just to get put these ideas together. If the Yeti was still working, maybe I'd bump it up the list a little bit more. But it's a great. I'm trying to. Is it the best roller coaster? Yeah, I think you can make the argument that it's the best coaster. I also love Big Thunder. For me, that's like 1 and 1A with Everest. It's a damn good ride. A damn good ride. But I think when we go to Animal Kingdom, I think it's Flight of Passage, Safari. We can throw Everest in the mix as well. But I think that's really it there. I don't think we could really go too many other places.
No. And I mean, if you're like, let's talk scenario about bringing somebody to for the first time. Like we're getting Animal Kingdom open until like 8 p.m. now. And the sun's going down earlier. If you park hop there later in the day and bring them to Pandora once it's dark and everything starts lighting up, like that's just such a cool experience, unmatched across the parks. To get to be in and experience that, like end the day on Flight of Passage. So if you're going for nighttime with the tree lit up also as you're walking out, like very tough to beat that.
Yeah, you can hit a big home. That night experience might be the best night experience in any land, in any park.
The only one that I would potentially take would be being on the People Mover or Astro Orbiter at Fireworks.
Yes, I've done that. Yes.
You have to be so precise to get that.
Right.
That like I give the edge to Animal Kingdom.
I've actually caught the Astro Orbiter fireworks on the Astro Orbiter twice in the same trip. I was doing when I did the ride challenges, and I did the kids one with John, and I did the solo one by myself. I actually caught Astro Orbiter at the same time both nights, and both nailed it with the fireworks. And it's talk about like a wow experience. followed by the terrible experience of that elevator.
Yeah.
But that, if you can catch that right, you're right. That's a very unique experience riding that particular, or those two particular rides. But yeah, Safari, Everest, Flight of Passage. Tough to pick a winner between Flight of Passage and Safari, but you're right. That nighttime. Now you get two different experiences on the Safari also. You know, where you get different animals at night, a different kind of an experience. So very close between those two attractions, I think.
Yeah, especially the lions coming out at night. You
Yes.
get a lot more like lions roaring, and you hear it coming around the corner, like super cool.
That's an excellent point. Yeah, because during the day they're just vegging out, they're just sleeping out.
Yeah, yeah.
That's all you really get to see. But the animals, walking right by, your caravan, just really, really good stuff. Caleb asked, Caleb just popped out. He goes, "What's the topic? Someone catch me. Someone catch me." Yeah. So Caleb, what we were doing was, we went through all 4 parks. This was the last one. Don't worry, show's not over yet. But if you had to bring somebody, first timer was going, and you could only choose one ride to give them that full blown immersive Disney experience to show them why you love Disney so much, and you had to show it and prove it and say, man, this ride is the ride. When you get off this ride, you're going to know what Disney is all about and why I love it so much. Which one would it be? So for the quick recap for Animal Kingdom, we really much came down to Flight of Passage or the Safari. Epcot came down to Spaceship Earth, and a good under the radar with Grand Fiesta Tour, but Spaceship Earth pretty much was the overwhelming winner there. At Hollywood Studios, Tower of Terror, Rise of the Resistance, Toy Story Mania were the main ones that we talked about. And then Magic Kingdom was a good, nice little free-for-all where Jimmy brought up an excellent point with People Mover being under the radar. And then I had Splash Mountain. And then when you had the regulars, you had Pirates, you had Haunted Mansion, you had It's a Small World. So we had a really, really good variety, I think, for the most part. But as you can see, as you start going to the parks that have fewer and fewer attractions, less to choose from, you can kind of really narrow it down maybe to 1 or 2. So that's a good wrap up there. Speaking of animals, this is actually a perfect transition here. So we're not going to do history this week, everybody, but I am going to take one piece of history that I did see in doing some research, and I wanted to turn it into a topic that pretty much would take us through the second half of the show. So since we're ending on Animal Kingdom, I think it's, this actually works here because this is animal related, the piece of history that I'm about to bring up. So on this very day in 1967, The Jungle Book was released in theaters. So I posed the question to Jimmy, on this day, Jungle Book came out in 1967. Now, were people super excited to see The Jungle Book? And when people were going crazy, maybe the same way that they were waiting for Snow White and the anticipation for Snow White? Probably not. But has there been, or what was the Disney or Pixar animated movie that you were most excited to see upon its release, where you're like, I have to be there day one when this movie comes out, trailer blows you away, and you're just like, this is it. I have to be here. I have to see this movie. So, Jimmy, if you have, I'll take one Disney and one Pixar movie. What do you got?
I'll start with Pixar, and for me, I'm going to date myself, but
yes, please tell everybody how old you are first before you date yourself.
For me, it was Toy Story 3. And the reason for that is that I am the exact year of like Toy Story 1 to leaving for college at Toy Story 3. So that was like, we didn't think we were getting a Toy Story 3. It had been however long since Toy Story 2 happened. Like,
I think 8 or 9 years.
Yeah, like we didn't need another one. And then Toy Story 3 was coming out. Andy was going to college. And that was just like, I have to be there. I have to know what my entire childhood is wrapped up in. And I have 2 Infinity and Beyond and Woody and Buzz's shoes as a tattoo. Like that's something that was just like a big part of my life growing up. And so that was definite. For Pixar, I would say Toy Story 3, like something of that chapter of life ending was a super big deal.
That is I love Toy Story 3. For me, it's Toy Story only because you're dating yourself. You're much younger than I am. So when Toy Story came out, the first Toy Story came out, Jimmy was about 3 years old when the first Toy Story came out. So for me, I was 11. And I thought Toy Story was just the coolest thing I had ever seen at 11. Mm-hmm. And like you said, we all kind of came of age watching Toy Story, regardless of how old you are, throughout this entire 25-year history between the first movie and the fourth movie. We've all grown up with it. My kids have grown up with it. I grew up with it. All different age groups. But it is a coming of age, saga. And for me, watching that first Toy Story and seeing the different animation and just the story itself, toys coming to life. Because everybody's played with toys, and not for 1 second did any of us think like, I wonder what our toys do when we're not around. Do they get up and move? Do they play when we're not? And it's just a wonderful concept. It's a great idea for a movie. And boy, did they ever hit it out of the park. I mean, they just nailed this. Now, did we need 4 of them? I
say yes.
I didn't love the fourth one. I was good. I was good at 3. And I will never forget being a grown man in 2008 when Toy Story 3. So Toy Story 3, I'm 24, okay? And when that trash compactor scene is going on, and I'm sitting there as a 24-year-old, I'm crying. I'm tearing up. I'm tearing up. And I'm looking and thinking to myself, this is so wrong. They're going to kill these. I can't believe they're going to kill them. I'm freaking out. There are little kids in this theater freaking out. I'm like, how could they be doing this? I was mortified. I'm like, this is effed up. I can't believe they're going to do this. I was just so blown away. And I'm just like, and then eventually, the claw comes down and saves them. And then I felt like a fool. I'm like wiping the tears. Like, oh, so stupid. So I can't believe I was crying. That's so unnecessary. But then I looked around me, and there were 5 or 6 other guys in the movie theater that are doing the same thing, wiping the tears away. Like, oh, they felt so silly. But man, like I just couldn't believe it. So I can totally see your point with Toy Story 3 being there as an anticipation. For me, it was Toy Story for Pixar. A lot of other people are with us. I think Toy Story, when you talk about Pixar, if it doesn't start and end with Toy Story, we did see Up. Somebody brought up Up, which in itself, I think the first 10 minutes of Up is some of the best piece of Disney art that they've ever done in the movies. It's an entire movie in itself, the first 10 minutes of Up. So that is a fantastic movie as well. A lot of fun. But when it comes to Pixar, man, it's hard to get away from going Toy Story.
Absolutely. And so if we're talking Disney animation,
right.
Like I got to grow up in the golden age, so I didn't really anticipate those movies coming out because I was a kid. Like I didn't know when Aladdin was going into theaters or when The Lion King was going into theaters. Oh my God, you make me feel even older than I normally feel. It's unbelievable. Oh my God. Okay, but come on. So what's your millennial coming of age Disney animated movie that you were so and could not wait to see? I'll say Frozen. And
no, you're not going to say Frozen, Jimmy.
So I feel like, parents now are like, man, I've heard that song so many times, but it had been a long time since we had gotten a legitimate new Disney princess. And so, and so it was kind of like we're ushering a new era. And now we have a number of new ones that have followed in her footsteps. And so I feel like, for me, Frozen marked the like beginning of a new golden generation for Disney animation. And so that was one that it was like, I got to be there. I got to see where they're going with this. And I mean, it may have gotten too popular and like really just made parents go crazy. But like first time watching it in theaters, though, it was like, this is amazing that they're getting back to doing this.
All right. So how old were you when Frozen came out?
I was in college. I was definitely, I was in college.
That's impressive for.
So I'm there
right,
I'm there by myself. You know, like the opening day of it coming out. Like, I promise I'm not creepy. Like,
I'm about to say, I'm like, that's a very bold statement for you to admit. That Caleb says, Jimmy, let it go, Jimmy, let it go. I mean, I'm sure that's it. I'm sure when you saw Let It Go, you're like, that's it. I'm done. That's Disney. This is amazing. Let's go. Let's do this. That's great. So Kelly brought up, I'm surprised you didn't say, I think she was talking to me. I didn't give my answer yet. The reason why I can't say Goofy movie is because technically speaking, a Goofy movie does not fall into the Disney animated movie section. It's a Disney Toon studio production. So I can't, as awesome as it is, and I think does not get nearly the credit that it deserves as being a awesome Disney animated movie. If I'm keeping it to the letter of the law here, I can't pick it because it is not under that umbrella. It is my favorite, might be my favorite Disney animated movie, along with Toy Story, but I can't pick it for this particular topic. But I am going to say what Donna actually said, and because I was, unlike Jimmy, who is in diapers, I was 10, and when The Lion King came out, and this was coming off of The Little Mermaid, Aladdin, and Beauty and the Beast. And I mean, at this point, Disney is just ripping off one incredible movie after the other. And I was around 9 or 10, and that first trailer for The Lion King came out, and you were like, I was like, oh my God, they've done it again. I got to see this, and I need to see it right away. It was the culmination of that group of movies and that complete resurgence that started with movies like The Great Mouse Detective, which doesn't get the credit that it deserves, like Oliver and Company, Robin Hood, which gets completely lost in the shuffle of really solid Disney movies. But the storytelling of a Disney animated movie had evolved over time. You know, it had its beginnings, you know, where it was based off of books and you had your Disney princesses, and then it morphed into those dark ages where they really didn't have a clue on how to tell a Disney story in a movie. And then they had The Great Mouse Detective, which is a good movie, kind of a little bit ahead of its time. Then you get Oliver and Company. So Great Mouse Detective to me tells a good story. Yeah. And then it had one good song. It had the O'Ratican song, which is a really good villain song. And then Oliver and Company has the music that we know is a staple of Disney, you know, movies nowadays. Is got to have those got to nail those songs. And then you get Little Mermaid, and it hits like the first big home run. And then Rescuers Down Under comes out. We can kind of forget about that. We can skip over that one. But then Aladdin comes out, and they nail it with Aladdin. And Beauty and the Beast come out, and they nail it. And then The Lion King comes out, and you're like, oh, this is the crescendo of what a Disney movie is supposed to be about. So, you know, I could go with any one of those movies, but I think The Lion King was the one. And I think a lot of people, it kind of brought Disney movies to the next level, the whole new level that it needed to be. And we've kind of maintained that level ever since, with a few abominations along the way, like Home on the Range and Brother Bear. You know, we've had a few missteps over the years, but really it's Lion King, and then it's like, okay, now we have to meet that standard from that point moving forward.
Okay, but also shout out to Brother Bear, where you could watch them animating that movie in the parks. Like,
okay,
how incredible is that? So
that is okay. I gotcha.
Yeah, maybe it
wasn't a good movie though. It was cool. Maybe if they had spent less time showing it off and more time concentrating on the actual movie, it wouldn't have been so bad.
Yeah, just imagine going in to the parks now and being able to watch them animating whatever's coming out next.
That would be, you know what? That would be pretty awesome. Because we know, because of Disney Plus and just because of all these documentaries, we know so much more about Imagineering, and not just in the parks, but with movies and how they're made. So to be able to see that, a little bit of that process in the parks, would be awesome. I mean, I'd pay. We talk about, the new Lightning Lane and what you're going to pay for as part of your Disney experience. I would pay a certain fee to go, kind of almost like a walkthrough,
Yeah,
kind of an attraction, and you get to get up close and personal as they're designing the new movie. That would be, what? That's a great. Somebody write this down. We're gonna pitch it to Disney. It's a great idea.
send it to Chapek.
And we can even put like the Mr. Toad handing over the will to Owl. We could even pay homage to Brother Bear, if it'll make you happy, Jimmy. That kind of
Thank
Brother
you.
Bear was the movie that started it all. So we could do that. We could do that too. Let's go through some of the rest of these here. So we got I Was Like Barb, Breeding the Beast. Beauty and the Beast. I think Beauty and the Beast is another one. That whole area, man, is gonna really knock me at. Being here from Orlando, hard to imagine that I've never seen The Lion King. Kelly said Mighty Ducks. That's not. We're not talking live anime. We're not talking live action, but Mighty Ducks was pretty awesome. Not going to lie. Tarzan. You know what? Caleb brings up a
Great
good point.
choice.
A great movie that people forget about. It's got some fantastic. So it's an amazing soundtrack. It is a really, really good story. Why does Tarzan get lost in the shuffle?
I mean, I feel like so much was just so high quality, like you said, coming out there.
Right.
That, yeah, it kind of stops at The Lion King. And that was the peak. And then everything before and after is just kind of shuffled in the mix. But I totally agree. I think Tarzan might be my favorite of that era of movies.
And you were a little bit older when Tarzan actually came out.
Yeah. So I can, remember a first time there.
Yeah, man. Because right around, you had Hunchback, you had Hercules, you had Tarzan. Yeah, you're right. And Tarzan won, I think, a couple of Academy Awards too. I'm pretty sure Phil Collins, might have won for Best Song. Yeah, you're right. Because then after that, you got Fantasia 2000, and everything kind of Emperor's New Groove, and everything kind of gets lost sometimes in that shuffle of movies. But Tarzan is a really good one, and you don't hear enough about it, and it's really not represented in the parks either, which is unfortunate. Because it used to be before Finding Nemo the musical came out. Tarzan Rocks had the show at Animal Kingdom. So yeah, you're right. But Tarzan is really good, and you know what? And I want to give
Disneyland.
It is. You're right.
Swiss Family Robinson, Treehouse is Tarzan over there.
So she brought up earlier, but also Donna asked for the shout out. So Donna, absolutely. Donna gets a shout out. She's been with the show for a while. Tampa, Florida, in the house. Tampa, Florida. So have I been to Tampa? I have been to Tampa before. So yes, very nice, very nice. I got a fantastic idea, Joe. Thank you, Carrie. See, Carrie agrees with us with the animation. Oh, and my wife, and you know what? I got to give a shout out to the wife. She kind of made up for it. She's made up for it because this is another really good Disney movie that doesn't get talked about a whole lot, and that's Tangled.
And how are we going to represent Tangled in the parks? We're going to give it a bathroom?
Yeah,
come on.
Come on.
I totally agree. Such an underrated movie. And it was kind of in a dead era though, it came out isolated. Nothing really before it, nothing for a couple years after it. So I understand why it gets lost, but so great.
Because around Tangled, if I'm not mistaken, you got Meet the Robinsons, which is a criminally underrated Disney movie. It's so incredibly pathetic that they have not found a way to incorporate Meet the Robinsons into Tomorrowland and into the Disney parks. Criminally underrated movie. And before that, we had Home on the Range and Chicken Little, and a bunch of C and B, D rated, movies there. And then I think you hit the homer with Tangled, and then it takes 4 years before we get to Frozen.
Mhm.
So that's where I think Tangled gets kind of, you're right, it just kind of gets lost in the shuffle of things, but it's an amazing movie.
Oh yeah.
It is really, and I don't know if the anticipation was there for Tangled, but I know once people saw it, they were like, "Oh my god! Like this is an amazing, amazing movie. It's well told. It's got good characters." I think this is the first time my Wi-Fi ever almost went down. Oh, my picture just shot out there for a second. That's a first. That's never happened. So Kathy again with the Tarzan. We got Sandy saying Tangled is a great movie. Yeah, those are two really good ones. I Had a Dream once. I'm not getting the connection. What am I missing there?
That's the a song from Tangled.
Oh, in the oh god, is it the snuggling duckling? Is that the bar?
The snuggly duckling. Yeah.
By the way, how is the snuggling duckling not somewhere in Disney? Also, how does that bar not exist somewhere? I mean, I don't know how they not have found a way to entangle. I just said entangled. Encompass. See, now I got tangled on the brain now. Yeah, Snuggly Duckling should be in Disney somewhere. So Kayla said, but Tarzan characters should have been in the park before Tangled characters, but not sure why they didn't put Tarzan on the top of the list. I mean, I feel like Disney does such, they're big on IPs, but we don't always get all the IPs in the parks. It's so concentrated on what's coming out right now. Like Moana is getting its own, area in Epcot, which, you know what? I'm fine with it. Moana's a great movie. Frozen is there. It has its own section. It has its own sing-along in Hollywood Studios, and it's in Epcot. But there are other really good Disney movies that we're forgetting about here. And I think it could easily be reincorporated into the parks.
If you get the chance, it's not the parks, but take the Skyliner, get off at Riviera, and go see the mosaics of Tangled that are right off the Skyliner station. Those are beautiful.
Yes, they are. They are. Yes, I saw that recently on a trip, and I didn't know they were there. And I was like, oh my God, these are incredibly beautiful. I mean, just so wonderfully done. Oh, we got a couple other random ones. Oh my God.
Treasure Planet.
How can we forget about Mulan?
Oh.
We forgot about Mulan. That's another. And you know what? Treasure Planet is another really good underrated movie. Although I will say, as far as the Disney universe goes, like I do prefer the story. It's the same story. I do prefer the way they do it in Muppet Treasure Island than we get in Treasure Planet. I thought the Muppet version of that story, I think, is better when you talk about Disney. But Treasure Planet is a good movie.
That's fair. Yeah. How do we forget about Mulan?
Mulan that we forgot about.
Iconic.
That's another really good one. Wow. That's right up there too. And I do remember there being a lot of anticipation. They did sink a lot of money into promoting Mulan when it was coming out. I do remember that was a big one. They really put a lot behind that. The same way they did with Frozen, the same way they did with those big four. I don't know if one matched the Frozen anticipation since. Did Moana really?
Moana might be close.
Frozen 2. Does it count though because it's Frozen already?
Yeah, I don't think that counts. Moana, I would say, is the closest that they've come. I can't think of a Pixar that has come close to the anticipation of Frozen. Especially since they buried Soul and Luca on Disney Plus.
Right. That's a tough, yeah. And we also have Pocahontas too, we forgot.
Yeah. And Lilo and Stitch.
Or as Barbara put it, Kilo and Stitch. Is that a new version?
I love Lilo and Stitch. Yeah.
Well, yeah, see, and the more... and Barbara laughing at herself. Gee, it's all right. We all know about typos. We're very much aware. So I mean, so since some people have mentioned some live action, so real quickly before we sign off for the night, live action, not Disney animation. Can you think of one? Mary Poppins, I think, is a good one. I saw Mary Poppins.
Yeah,
some people chiming in earlier. I'm sure I think back in the 60s, that was a hugely anticipated movie. But obviously, clearly way before our time.
Yeah. I like I was super excited about Pete's Dragon. Like I love the animated version, and I was really
Okay,
excited about
that's a good one.
the step into like giving a new chapter to a lot of these older movies. So like Pete's Dragon was one I was really excited about. Um, yeah, I mean, it's tough to beat Mary Poppins. Like just so legendary. But oh no, okay, it's Pirates of the Caribbean. If we're talking like last 20 years, I
Yes,
I
that's a
can
great
remember
call.
waiting up at the theater for the midnight showing of Pirates of the Caribbean, the first one, and like everyone after that, it's just so iconic.
I think you nailed it there. Pirates. I was gonna, because I really could not wait to see Saving Mr. Banks when it
Yeah,
came out, just because it's the Mary Poppins story, but it's still it's Mary Poppins, so
yeah,
I'll stay away from that. But I'm a huge Tom Hanks fan, and seeing Tom Hanks as Walt Disney was like my favorite actor. It's Disney. He's playing Walt. Like I got to see this, and I thought he did a phenomenal job doing it. But I'll stay away from the whole Mary Poppins thing, because Mary Poppins seems to be like a very easy go-to answer.
yeah,
Um, I really was looking forward to seeing the live action Beauty and the Beast when it came out. And
yeah,
I know a lot of people were crapping all over a lot of these, rebooted live action, Disney movies. But I really was looking forward to Beauty and the Beast. I wanted to see how they were going to tell that story. It was a movie that I
yeah,
absolutely loved as a kid. To me, and I'm also wearing the shirt, Gaston is, I think, the greatest Disney villain of all time. I think he's got the greatest Disney villain song of all time.
mm,
And I could not wait to see what they were going to do with the Gaston song and how they were going to. And I thought they did that Gaston song might be better than the one in the original. It's so LeFou. I mean, it's. I thought
yeah.
that was perfect. So Beauty and the Beast, the live action for Beauty and the Beast, I could not wait for. And unlike a lot of these other ones that I didn't think really delivered, I thought Beauty and the Beast delivered.
Yeah, I loved it. And like you've got Josh Gad coming off of doing the Book of Mormon. It's like a guy who's really starting to explode on the scene. I agree
And we
with
know
you.
him
That
as
was
being Olaf too. So I mean,
yeah,
so he's got
exactly.
that going for him too. On top of that,
Yeah. I was a big fan of the Beauty and the Beast. I think that's a great answer.
Beauty and the Beast, and you know what, and Pirates falling under that Disney. I mean, now you could say there's so many things. You have all the Marvel movies now, and Star Wars fall. I try to keep those separate. To me, those are not like
Yeah, yeah.
they're under the Disney umbrella, but Marvel is Marvel, Star Wars is Star Wars. They should be kept in their own sections. But Pirates of the Caribbean is basically based off of a Disney ride. That's
Yeah.
what the movie is. And dude, I mean, Johnny Depp. I mean, I don't know if there's a more perfect fit for a character and an actor than Johnny Depp playing Captain Jack Sparrow.
Yeah.
Incredible. So I'm up there. I think that one, Beauty and the Beast, Jungle Book was, like I said, some of these other live action ones didn't really do the trick. My wife, Joanna brought up that Aladdin was a bit disappointing. I kind of agree there. Maleficent was really good. Caleb says Maleficent. I thought that was highly anticipated also. That was a good movie too. I thought Angelina Jolie did a really good job. I wasn't a huge fan of the second one, but I thought the first one was really good.
Yeah, I think there's a good niche where they take the live action and spin it off a little bit more from the animated, and that's where they've been successful. And so, yeah, I mean, Maleficent was great. I enjoyed Aladdin and I enjoyed the Jungle Book, but it's kind of like you have to take it at face value. Like, you're getting somewhat of a rehash of a movie that you already love. So like if you go in with that expectation, then you enjoy it a little bit more than like, I need this to be better than the movie that I've already seen and know and love.
And if you're putting it on that pedestal, it's not going to deliver for you.
Yeah, nothing can.
But you're right. So Jungle Book, some of those stories can either just tell the story by the book. But what I liked about Beauty and the Beast is like they answered like some questions that maybe you asked yourself as an adult. You're like, wait a second, this huge castle is right by this village, and all these people go missing, and there's a beast, and nobody knows. It stays hidden for all these years. This huge giant castle and this prince, but nobody, and literally it's just a stone's throw away. You know, they're not going that far, and it's so out of it. But in the live action, they give you the reason, like, oh, you know, a spell was cast and nobody knows. And then like all of a sudden everybody remembers everybody. And you're like, oh, thank you. That was a loose end that they finally decided to tie up 25 years later. But it, you know, it was little things like that and little changes to the same songs. And, you know, that's what made, I think, Beauty and the Beast stand out a little bit more. I think they did a better job of doing that and mixing it up a little bit and trying to incorporate some new ideas instead of just telling the same exact story. Like pretty much The Lion King was the exact story. There really was nothing new there, which, you know, was a good movie. The animation was incredible, but you know, it really wasn't, you know, it wasn't as good as some of the other ones. And, you know, Caleb, another one. Oh, you know what? Actually, yeah, Joanna and Caleb both brought up Alice in Wonderland was a nice, interesting take as well, and a different spin, because Tim Burton is the man. Because you know, Tim Burton, we didn't
even talk about the Nightmare Before Christmas.
And also, it's a great movie, but it doesn't fall under the umbrella. You know, it's under the umbrella, but not under that specific one. But you're right, Nightmare Before Christmas is one of my favorite holiday movies. I mean, come on, you get to watch it. 2 different holidays you can watch it for. I mean, how can you beat that? And the Easter Bunny's in it too. So if you even want to say it's kind of like an Easter movie, now we're bumping it up to 3 holidays now. I would have so signed up for a second Nightmare Before Christmas. Before I would have signed up for a Frozen too. Just saying. There are certain movies that like sign me up for a sequel, and there are other ones where I'm like, no, we really did not need this. You know, we didn't need a Wreck-It Ralph 2. You know, I don't think we need a Moana 2. Like there's certain movies that when they end, you're like, oh, great ending, picture perfect, we're good.
Yeah,
I'm good.
You told your story.
Exactly. We tied it up in a nice bow, and we're done. But you felt like, man, at Nightmare, okay, everything's kind of cool, you know. But wait a second, there's a forest with other doors. There could be more to this story. You know, there could have been more there. So there are a few, you know, like I said, I'm not a big, like, we didn't need 3 Cars movies, you know, for crying out loud. Like, you know, I like some original ideas, you know, after a while. But yeah, I would have signed up for a Nightmare Before Christmas too. That would have been a really good one for sure. So, oh my God, dude, this was like the fastest hour and 11 minutes I think I've ever done this show. It's time to get ready to say goodbye. Wow, that flew by. So that was a lot of fun tonight, man. So I guess we'll get right up. Yep, and we did, of course, we got to show The Nightmare Before Christmas Love there at the very end. So 2 awesome topics. We got a lot of great responses. Thank you so much for everybody for tuning in and checking us out tonight. Thank you to Jimmy for joining us. And I'm not the only one that thought that this flew by. There were a lot of other people. Yeah, the time. I mean, this was a lot of fun tonight, man. Thank you so very much for joining, Jimmy. I want to have you back on the show again. Me. And Kathy even said, "Can we please bring Jimmy? Can we please bring Jimmy back soon?" So, Jimmy definitely getting the love that he deserves. So, Jimmy Sweeney, if you didn't know him, now we know him. Jimmy is the guy. So, Jimmy is a very good friend of mine. We do ride challenges together. One day we'll get into the backstory of how we met. It's absolutely hilarious. And a guy from Texas and a guy from New York meeting in Disney for the very first time. And Jimmy and I have become really good friends. And, you know, I went to Texas. I traveled to Texas a couple years ago, and we went out of our way to hang out with each other. And, you know, we've had Disney visits together. Really a great guy. And, you know, thank you so much, man, for being a part of us tonight and filling in for Chris, who will be back next week. And we will be back next week. But we will definitely have Jimmy back again, man. So it was a lot of fun. And thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to tune in and come back again soon.
All right. So with that being said, everybody, remember you can catch us live again every Monday night, Streaming the Magic on the road travel. We look forward to seeing everybody. Everybody have a great weekend, great week. Disney Genie comes out tomorrow, so we're gonna have some fun next week about seeing how this whole goes. It's gonna be interesting. So I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of bugs. There's gonna be a lot of problems. But we'll see, and we'll get some good reactions, and we'll see how it goes. So until then, everybody, have a great night. Have a great week. Jimmy, stay safe down there, buddy. Awesome show, man. Thank you again.
Absolutely. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Everybody have a good one.